Hi, I'm Andrew, the young adult and media librarian at North Brunswick Public Library. June is Pride Month, so I'm going to show you it's actually a really small portion of some of the books in the YA section that deal with LGBTQT plus characters. I use the term LGBTQT plus. Some people will say LGBTQTIA plus. There's different, and there's different ways, different items labels that people use. I talk to people who I think would be under that category, and it seems consensus seems to be that it's okay to say LGBTQT plus is not the only term you can use. So I'm going to take a look at some of the books for young adults dealing with characters who aren't necessarily heterosexual. And I think that both the books themselves, including their genres, and the characters really show a very wide diversity here. Because that term LGBTQT plus, that's a really big umbrella, as it were. There's a lot of variety in that. People can be very different from each other and still in the same be in one category. Anyhow, I'm going to take a look at some of these are very, very new. Some of them have been around a couple of years. Here's the only nonfiction book on the list here. All Boys Aren't Blue, a memoir manifesto by George M. Johnson. It's the only nonfiction on this list, but we certainly have a lot of other nonfiction books. So if you're curious about terminology or what phrases to use, or about the history of the gay rights movement, anything like that, there's certainly a lot that you could look at. But right now, really focusing mostly on characters there. I'm going to look at either descriptions from the publishers or just a modified, edited version of that, of the descriptions. Sometimes the descriptions be a little bit long. A first book by the prominent journalist and LGBTQIA+ activist shares personal essays that chronicle his childhood, adolescence, and college years as a Black queer youth, exploring subjects ranging from gender identity and toxic masculinity to structural marginalization and Black joy. Aristotle and Dante discover the secrets of the universe by Benjamin Alir Sáenz. 15-year-old Ari Mendoza is an angry loner with a brother in prison. But when he meets Dante and they become friends, Ari starts to ask questions about himself, his parents, and his family that he has never asked before. And by the way, if you're one of the many people who loved this book, you may be excited to know that there's a sequel coming out in the fall. Cool for the Summer by Dahlia Adler. 17-year-old Lara's dream of catching Chase Harding's eye finally comes true, even as Jasmine, with whom she just spent a confusing, oddly romantic summer, re-enters her life. Felix Ever After by Kassan Kalender. Felix Love, a transgender 17-year-old, attempts to get revenge by catfishing his anonymous bully, but lands in a quasi-love triangle with his former enemy and his best friend. I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. After coming out as non-binary, Ben must leave home and goes to live with a sister and a husband to finish the last year of high school. Keep This to Yourself by Tom Ryan. After high school graduation, Mac focuses on finding the serial killer who murdered his best friend the previous summer, while working through his own feelings for the deceased. Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. When Lily realizes She has feelings for a girl in her math class. It threatens Lily's oldest friendships and even her father's citizenship status. And eventually, Lily must decide if owning her truth is worth everything she has ever known. Like a Love Story by Abdi Nazimian. It's 1989 in New York City, and for three teens, the world is changing. Riza is an Iranian boy who has just moved to the city with his mother to live with his stepfather and stepbrother. He's terrified that someone will guess the truth he can barely acknowledge about himself. Riza knows he's gay, but all he knows of gay life are the media's images of men dying of AIDS. Miss Meteor by Taylor K. Mejia and Anna Marie McLemore. A teen who secretly arrived with a meteor that gave her small hometown its name discovers that she is turning back into stardust and teams up with her best friend in an effort to secure her human existence by entering a local beauty pageant that has always been won by thin blonde white girls. Pet by Akwiki Emizi. In a near future society that claims to have gotten rid of all monstrous people, a creature emerges from a painting 17-year-old Jam's mother created, a hunter from another world seeking a real-life monster. You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. Liz Lately has always done her best to avoid the spotlight. In her small, wealthy, and prom-obsessed Midwestern high school. Instead, she has concentrated on her grades and her musical ability in the hopes that it will win her a scholarship. But when that scholarship falls through, she is forced to turn to her school's scholarship for prom king and queen. So she has to see if she can win prom queen in order to be able to get her scholarship to college, right? I thought that was an interesting concept, and I really enjoyed that book. As you can see that, not only are the characters diverse, but the genres are diverse, right? We've seen realistic fiction, we've seen romance, historical fiction, science fiction, fantasy, mystery, all are represented on this list. And I'd love to hear your opinions if you've read any of these books. Also, I'd love to hear any requests that you have for the library, books you think maybe we should own. Thanks a lot, and happy reading and happy Pride.